Welcome back to this week's episode of Unlocked. I am really excited about today's episode, but I will preface this now by saying you may need some tissues, okay? So if you have some handy, I would get them. This next guest is just such a powerful human being. I came across her on TikTok and it gave me goosebumps. I got tears in my eyes. I could not imagine. I mean, one of life's worst circumstances came across her door, and the way that she has handled it with so much grace is so inspiring to not only me, but I feel like to millions of people across the world. So I am so excited to have Shelby Houston Brown on. Welcome.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited that you're here. So I have been wanting to do this conversation for a while. I came across you and I was like, something about her, I need to talk to her. I see the impact that you're making. But your story that we're going to talk about is your dad, Officer Richard Houston. He was killed in the line of duty in December of 2021, and you were 18 years old. And at his funeral, you stood up and forgave the man who killed him, which I already have goosebumps. And you did it out loud on a microphone, and so many people across the world, I feel like, watched you. And we're definitely going to talk about that, but I do want to start with just who your dad was, and the legacy that he left behind.
Yeah, I grew up in like the best family ever. I tell people all the time I really did have a perfect childhood. I have a younger brother and a younger sister, super close with them. I mean, my parents were amazing. He started being a police officer, I guess it was like the year before I was born. And
wow,
it's all he ever wanted to do. His dad also died whenever he was younger. And so his dad was a police officer. And so he just knew from the get-go that's what he was called to. And so, I mean, we grew up with him being a police officer, but I mean, outside of work, he was the biggest goofball, like told the worst dad jokes ever, like always had a camera in front of him. Like we would mess with him all the time. Like, Dad, we're not taking a selfie right now in public. Like it was a lot.
He was that dad.
He was
always taking a
yeah,
picture.
it's like, Dad, put it away. But yeah, I mean, he actually was the one who helped me start, he was the one who helped me make my decision to start following Jesus. And like I said, we kind of grew up in church, and he was always the one who took me and my family every Sunday. And whenever I was 7 years old, I said, Dad, I would love to like follow Jesus. And we had that conversation and he walked me through it. And so that for me says just everything about who my dad was.
Yeah.
And not only did he do that with me, he did that with my sister and my brother.
Wow.
And so, yeah, he was a powerful guy, but I mean, the most down-to-earth, goofy dad ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you were 18. How old were your siblings at the time?
They were, I want to say it was like 14 and 15, 16.
Okay. And you just touched on, obviously, your faith. And what would you say your dad taught you about faith? Not by saying it, but by the way that he lived it.
He never met a stranger. And was never afraid to tell people about Jesus. There were actually so many stories that we found out after he died of people that he would come in contact with, not just like people he worked with, but calls that he would respond to, and would always go out of his way to help people that, he would respond to the call, but he would take it a step further and meet whatever need it was. And honestly, just like showed me the heart of Jesus and what it looks like to not only walk with him, but look like him. So, yeah.
And is there a specific moment that you go back to when you find yourself missing him?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a spot on the couch that he would always sit in. Always knew when I walked in the door he'd be there. I think it's just the little moments like that.
Yeah. Gosh. What do you want people to know about your dad who never got the chance to meet him?
I think if my dad were here today, And, you know, if we could make the decision, like, would we have him here? Sure. But I think what you need to know about my dad is, like, he would still look at all of this and be like, no, it was worth it. The people that have come to know Jesus because of this story, he would not trade places to be back here because of it.
Like we just started.
And yeah, I think that's it.
That's
as much as we
powerful.
miss him, I don't think he'd trade places.
Well, and I think you see him in every single person and their story when you hear that their life has
100%.
changed
Yeah.
because of his story.
Yeah.
And on that day, December 3rd, 2021, what can you walk me through that?
Yeah. I was a sophomore at Dallas Baptist University, college student in Dallas, and I was out running errands, studying, and I got a phone call from my mom, and she was like, Shelby, where are you? And I told her, and you could tell she was kind of acting a little bit odd on the phone, but didn't want to communicate anything with me until she could get me back home. So she told me that I needed to get back to campus. And so at the time I was like an hour away from home in rush hour, and I knew something was wrong, but didn't know like quite what happened. And so made my way home, finally gave her a call back. And at this point, I'm just like so angry. At this point, it's been an hour and a half of just like your thoughts spiraling.
Yeah, and it's just like, tell me what is going on.
Yeah. And so finally I pull up, call her, and she said, Shelby, your dad's been in an accident today. And unfortunately, I have heard that multiple times. I mean, he was a police officer for 21 years.
Yeah.
And so it has never been obviously what happened. But I mean, there were like bad calls that he went to, like car accidents, things like that. And so honestly, when she told me that, my heart kind of settled. And I was like, okay, well, where is he? Like, where can I come like meet you guys? And that's whenever she told me, Shelby, he's not here anymore. And I hung up the phone and I screamed so loud. And she finally got across to me that my pastor at the time, him and his wife, were on their way to come get me. And I honestly, I didn't say much more to her. And so I didn't know what happened at the time. And so we get in the car and I'm on my phone and I'm scrolling social media, and it's like news article after news article after news article that he was shot and killed. And he had basically, there was a domestic disturbance call that he answered, and within seconds, a man shot him 4 times and killed him instantly. And so at that point, we were getting close to home, and we pull up into the driveway, and I fling the door open, run into the yard. My mom catches me, and she brings me inside, and I just remember walking in and saying, "Where's Dad? Where's Dad? Where is he?" And I look to my left, and the Christmas tree is up, and Home Alone's on the TV. And, like, this is supposed to be the happiest time of year. Like, you want to talk about seeing your family, being with your family. Like, this is it. This is the season for it. And so at that point, my brother and my sister already knew. They were brought home from school early, and there were dozens of police cars at our house. And so obviously I didn't sleep at all that night. And the next morning, this is really like the point of my story, where I made the decision. And so I was on the front porch. Like I said, I had known Jesus since I was 7. And so I was but at this moment, just so angry with God.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. And asking all the, why God? Like, why now? Why me? Why us? Like, he had made it home safely for 21 years, and now he will never come home again. And I felt just this nudge in my spirit, like I was supposed to speak at my dad's funeral. And I was like, well, I can do that, sure, but like, what am I going to say?
Yeah.
And so I felt like he brought this picture to my mind, and it was him on the cross. And it wasn't just like far away, distant view of him on the cross. It was like just his eyes and how sad they were and how much you could tell he suffered for us. And I remember thinking, like, God, what in the world are you doing right now? Like, do you even care?
Yeah.
And I felt like he said, Shelby, you can have me and my life and my peace and my forgiveness, or you can spend your entire life walking in bitterness, resentment, and hate. And I knew what he was asking me to do. And so that was the moment where I decided that I was going to forgive the man who killed my dad. And then I felt like him say again, and now I want you to tell the whole world.
Wow.
And so...
And now the night before the day before you got the call, right?
Yeah.
Or that night, your dad had sent you a text message.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, I was a youth intern at the time at my church. And I had just, I'd always kind of like loved writing and speaking. Didn't really know why, but I enjoyed it. And that week was actually the first time that I had ever like shared a message at my church for our youth ministry.
Wow.
And he was actually able to be there for that. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And so that message that he sent me, I was just walking through just a really long, hard season and week. And but yeah, I think it was just like proof that God was watching, that God had his hand on us.
And do you remember what that message was?
I don't remember word for word.
Yeah.
I'd need to look at it.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
All right, guys. So I have a friend who has wanted to fix her teeth for as long as I have known her. Same thing every single time it came up. Traditional braces meant office visit after office visit on top of a cost that never really felt doable. So it just stayed filed under the someday tab, if you know what I mean. I got tired of hearing someday, so I bought her Smile Set. She's getting started right now. So let me tell you about how it actually works. Smile Set can straighten your smile for under $1,800. That's less than half the traditional cost of braces, and all of it's done at home. It starts with an at-home impression kit. From there, an affiliated network of state-licensed dental professionals review your case, approves a personalized treatment plan, then your aligners ship direct to you. You track your progress through the Smile Set app with doctor check-ins whenever you want one. They even have nighttime-only aligners so you can pursue your smile goals while you sleep. It's powered by Smile Direct Club technology, which has already transformed over 2 million smiles. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee. Monthly payments start at $89, and honestly, it's one of the best gifts I've ever given to someone. Listeners of our show get an additional 35% discount when they go to smileset.com/unlocked. With this discount, you can get the smile of your dreams for under $1,300. Go to smileset.com/unlocked to get started. Smileset.com/unlocked. August has been nonstop for me. Between travel, meetings, late nights in the studio, dinner is the first thing that falls apart. By the time I think about it, I'm 45 minutes deep into a delivery app wondering why I did not just plan ahead. Then it takes another 45 minutes for it to show up. And I'm happy to say that Tempo fixed that for me. They deliver fresh, chef-curated, dietitian-approved meals right to your door. Every meal is perfectly portioned for lunch or dinner, and it's ready in 2 minutes. Real food, real fast, no sad desk lunch. The chimichurri grilled chicken is the one that I keep going back to, and the spicy carnitas pork rice bowl is so good. They have over 20 recipes every week made from nutrient-rich ingredients, so it never gets boring. Whatever you're going for, there's a Tempo meal for it. Protein-packed with over 30 grams, fiber-rich, calorie-conscious, and gut support. It's convenient, but flexible enough to fit the way that you actually want to eat. For a limited limited time, Tempo is offering my listeners 60% off your first box. Go to tempomeals.com/unlocked. That's tempomeals.com/unlocked for 60% off your first box. tempomeals.com/unlocked. Rules and restrictions may apply.
I assume, though, that message, you probably went and reread it time and time again.
I mean, I still do. Like, I still have all of our text messages. I still get choked up every time I go through and read it. Still laugh at all of his dad jokes in there. Like, yeah.
That's why I have always said, I'm like, I don't want to delete anything.
No, yeah,
like,
really.
Because it's those moments that you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, and too, with him, I'm like so grateful now looking back that he would never put his camera away. Like, we have so many pictures together. And so, yeah.
Wow. And so when you decided to, speak at his funeral and you stood up at Lake Point Church, was the forgiveness line something that you had planned to say, or did you kind of feel that in the moment?
I knew that I was going to share that I was going to forgive the man who killed my dad. But honestly, like, whenever I went up there, I tell people all the time, like, that was not me up there. Like, that was Jesus with me. Mm-hmm. And I totally felt in that moment that those were his words and not mine. And he's the one who just gave me the power and strength to say them. Mm. And something I say too a lot of the time is, like, a lot of people, I think, assumed whenever I said those words that I somehow didn't feel any, like, grief or sadness, or like, how could you say that, like, a week after your dad died? But something I say all the time is, like, I trust and obey God, and I trust that one day my feelings will catch up to it, regardless of how I feel in the moment.
Wow. And say that again.
Yeah. I trust that, I obey and trust God, and then one day I know that my feelings are going to catch up with it.
That is powerful.
Yeah. And so didn't feel good necessarily to say in the moment, but I knew that God was calling me to it.
And what you said, just some of the lines that I feel like went viral for people was, I can't get any part of my heart to hate him. Mm-hmm. Not to scream, not to scold, but to simply tell him about Jesus. Mm-hmm. I mean, to be able to be in that place, it's powerful.
Yeah, and I remember too, after he killed my dad, he tried to kill himself. And he was unsuccessful, but he was sent to the ICU, and he spent, I think it was a handful of days there. And I remember whenever I found out what happened, I remember feeling such a way, like, I hope he makes it. Like, I hope he makes it out. And I think part of me was like, I'm not entirely sure why I feel this way. But that was kind of my hope from the very beginning.
It was such a conflicting feeling, right? Like,
for sure.
You're like, all right.
Yeah.
All the good parts of you, in a way, I feel like you feel crazy, right?
Oh,
like
100%.
All the good parts of you are showing up, and you're like, I hope he's okay. I hope. But then there's another part of you that's like, wait, why do I feel that way after what he just did? Mm-hmm. And I feel like the only explanation to that is God.
Yeah, 100%. And I think even like long before my dad passed, I was always like a true crime girl, loved those documentaries. And I remember it was like a few years before my dad died, and I was watching one, and they had filmed whenever a man was going to be sentenced to death. And like, he was going to die that day. And there were tons of news cameras out like at the prison, people like cheering, screaming, yelling, like so excited that he was going to be executed. And I remember watching that video and being like, why? Like, I bawled my eyes out. And I just remember being like, why do I feel this way? Like, my dad's a police officer. Like, it's so, like you said, it's just like a mix of emotions, conflicting feelings, that I had such a heart for like prisoners and inmates long before my dad died. And didn't make sense at the time until obviously he passed. And now it's like so much of what I do.
Well, yeah, I mean, now, which we'll get into, but just the ministry that you've built is amazing. What, on that day at your dad's funeral, what was happening in your heart and your mind before you stood up there?
I remember just feeling so mentally weak. Because at that point, it's like, I'm not eating, like, I'm not sleeping. And I never in my life have I felt so, like, weak, physically, mentally, emotionally. And I think it would have been a different day had it not been the size of the funeral that it was. But we were so, like, caught off guard with the amount of people that were there. And I just remember, like, asking God that morning, like, you're gonna have to do this for me. Like, I don't have it in me. And so me getting up on that stage was just pure strength that came from God and saying, like, I know what you've called me to do and I'm going to share what you've called me to do, but then I'm just going to let you handle the rest of it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Wow. I applaud you and have so much respect for you and how you've handled this and life on the other side of it. It just, to me, it's hard, right? Like, we see people every single day who go through stuff and it's so hard to find the faith and the tragedy. It's so easy to get angry and bitter and resentful. And, you know, your dad, he lived obviously very deep faith. Then you obviously had to start living it when he was gone. And what has your faith actually looked like across the past 4 years?
I will say that it has been a huge test of my faith. I think a lot of people, whenever they saw me do that eulogy, assumed that, like, this was, like, somehow easy or, like, yeah, I guess just easy. And I think, if anything, it's been, like, the complete opposite of that. And what I've really had to lean on is friends and family. But honestly, it's been a daily decision that I've had to make.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, well, yeah, you forgive someone once, you forgive and forget. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a daily forgiveness.
It's a daily forgiveness. And it's like, of course, every morning when I wake up, I have to make the decision to forgive the man who killed my dad, but it's a decision I have to make every single time I think of my dad at this point. It's just like recentering myself back in, like, what God's called me to do. And like I said, just like trusting that one day it's not going to feel so heavy, so painful, and so, like, full of sorrow.
Was there a moment that you wanted to take the forgiveness back?
There were quite a few days in therapy where I think part of me felt like I was glued to the decision because of how big it got.
Yeah.
And that can honestly be really dangerous for someone walking through grief. And there are certainly moments where I think back and I'm like, was this even worth it? Like, he wasn't here to meet my husband, wasn't here to meet my daughter, won't be here to meet any of my other children. He was the best with kids and babies, and I won't get to see that. And I think in those moments is whenever I definitely wrestle with wondering if it was worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is, I don't know how you've done it. I'm like, this is, I know. I'm like, oh, gosh.
Okay, so I love summer. I love the beach. I love a full day on the water. I love every bit of it. The one part I don't love is what has to happen before I get there. The shaving. Because most women's razors are just men's razors shrunk down and made pink. So you get cheap, dull blades that tug at your skin instead of gliding over it. Then you're dealing with redness and razor bumps right before you want to put on a swimsuit. That is exactly why I switched to Flamingo. Flamingo was started by the women who helped build Harry's. They looked at what everybody else was selling women, rolled their eyes, as they should, then built a razor with women's bodies actually in mind. The handle is weighted so it feels good in your hand. It glides but still shaves close. There's no pink tax, if you know what I mean, so I'm not paying more just because it's marketed to me. Their starter set has the original razor with 5 blades, a 360-degree comfort system to protect your skin, plus a flexible hinge that hugs every single curve. You also get a facial dermaplane razor that sweeps away peach fuzz, a foaming shave gel that puts a real cushion between your skin and the blade, plus a shower holder so it's always within reach. The whole kit is $7. Shipping is free, and if you don't love your shave, they'll give you your money back, so there's absolutely no risk. For a limited time, our listeners can get the Flamingo starter set for only $7 at shopflamingo.com/unlocked. This set includes the Flamingo original razor, 1 5-blade cartridge, a 1-ounce foaming shave gel, and a shower holder. Just head to shopflamingo.com/unlocked to claim this offer. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Insurance isn't one size fits all, and shopping for it shouldn't feel like squeezing into something that just doesn't fit. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they show you options that fit your budget. Enough hunting for discounts, trying to calculate rates, and tinkering with coverages. Maybe you're picking out your very first policy, or maybe you're just looking for something that works better for you and your family. Either way, they make it simple to see your options. No guesswork, no surprises. Ready to see how easy and fun shopping for car insurance can be? Visit progressive.com and give the Name Your Price tool a try. Take the stress out of shopping and find coverage that fits your life on your terms. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
In the midst of that forgiveness, you didn't forgive someone who came to you and asked for your forgiveness.
Yeah.
How do you forgive someone who isn't sorry?
Forgiveness is 100% more for you than it is for anyone else. And a lot of people are so hung up on walking in forgiveness because they think they have to wait for an I'm sorry. And the truth is, I would say more than half the times you're not going to get one. And the only person that is being affected by you walking and living in bitterness and anger is you.
Yeah.
Nobody else. The person who hurt you and offended you, they're not
worried about you
or worried about whether or not you're choosing to forgive them.
Yeah. And has there been a time since your father was killed that you have come face to face with the person who did what they did?
Yeah, about a year after he died, we had his trial, and we had the decision on whether we wanted to grant him the death penalty or life without parole. And of course, I knew how I felt. At the end of the day, it is a much harder process to sentence someone to the death penalty. Tons of retrials and appeals and all those things. And, but ultimately, I didn't want him to die. I knew that he was looking for a way out whenever he not only killed my dad, but tried to kill himself. And so I was like, this might be our only shot at him possibly getting into heaven one day. And so at the trial, that was the first time I had ever seen him in person. And I remember he walked in, he sat down. Very rarely did he pick his head up to look at us. But at the very end, we got to share a victim impact statement, my mom and I did. And I knew, I was like, well, I mean, my hope and my prayer is like one day I'm going to get to like go to him and visit him in prison. But I was like, if that doesn't happen, this may be our only chance. And so all I shared with him was the gospel. And I think as best as I can, I try and take the weight off that moment, because ultimately it's not up to me. Like, I'm going to plant the seed and trust that either God's going to use it and like he is going to accept Jesus and walk in faith, or he's not. But that ultimately isn't up to me. All that I was asked to do is to share the gospel. And so that's what I did in that moment. And I just still pray that, you know, I haven't spoken with him, but I just pray that God's been working on him.
Is that something you would like to do?
Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
And why do you think you're so pulled to do that?
I think just because I know the power at hand, and I know what God can do and how he can radically change someone's life. I mean, at the time, I didn't know what I know now, like getting to be in prison and seeing like the worst of the worst become like incredible followers of Jesus. And I think it's just inspired me, like, there is more. And also, like, this isn't our home, ultimately. And I think what I've learned most is that God calls people worthy of suffering.
Amen.
And instead of looking at it as proof of, like, God must not love me because I'm walking through what I'm walking through, or he must not hear my prayers, or he must be mad at me. It's actually proof that God finds you worthy of suffering just like he did on the cross.
Wow. And I think that's why you are so perfect for what you're doing now, which you kind of touched on it. You know, you walk into prisons and you speak to these men. Do you go to women's facilities as well? Okay. So you go into prisons and you speak to these men and women. What made you decide to do that for the very first time?
Because I had the heart for the man who killed my dad. And like I said, even before him, I knew that I had a heart for inmates. And after what happened to my dad happened, I think it just confirmed, like, okay, God is calling me to this. And so the first time I went into prison was in San Quentin, with a guy named Bob Goff.
I love
Yes,
Bob. I was just with Bob.
Oh, no way.
I don't know, 3 weeks ago.
Really? I love him.
I love
yes.
him.
Yeah. And so he teaches a class at San Quentin.
Yes. All the amazing things he does at San Quentin.
Yeah. So
awesome.
That was the reason why I started. He was like, hey, you should come with me. And his wife, Maria,
sweet.
He had been doing classes at San Quentin for forever, and she just would never go. It's part of her story. But, she was like, if you go, I'll go. And so we went together. And I mean, I was like this 18-year-old girl. I was like, who knows, like, what's about to happen? I was certainly nervous and scared. Just because I feel like, honestly, the media and certain movies and TV shows have created prison and inmates to be in such a way that is just not at all what it really is.
Yeah. And it's hopeless people.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's hopeless people.
Exactly.
And it's our job to restore hope in a hopeless place.
Yeah. 100%.
And so that first time that you went, what was that experience like?
I was very caught off guard just by, like, inmates would walk up to you and, you know, they'd talk to you. And I mean, they're just normal people, because they're normal people. They're not a number. Like, they have a story. They have families. And we got to walk around with him, and Bob taught his class, and in normal Bob fashion, caught me out of nowhere. He was like, now Shelby's going to come up and tell her story. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I got up there, and this was like, I want to say it was only a few months after my dad passed.
Wow.
So yeah, I got up there. But what was so cool, and I mean, it is going to be etched in my brain for the rest of my life. At the end of my story, the chaplain, the guy who kind of runs the group, he and all of his guys, they turned around towards me, reached their hands out, and they prayed over me. And that was honestly the moment where I felt like God said, like, this is what you're here for. Like, this is what I've called you to. This is what I want you to walk in.
And when you walk into these prisons, is there a story that just sticks out to you in particular on someone that you've met?
This is something like really personal to me. It was a women's prison, and I had just spoken. I had got done speaking, and they were about to line up to go back. And this one girl, I look across, and she's like sprinting over to me, and I'm like, thought something was wrong. And she's like, I'm sorry, I just couldn't leave without telling you this. I feel like you're really afraid that you're not going to have kids, but I wanted to tell you that you're going to have a daughter one day that's going to have twice the anointing that you do. Turns out, I was pregnant. Turns out, she's a girl.
Stop.
My first daughter. And honestly, like, that was also just more confirmation, like, the life that God can bring out of, like, what was supposed to destroy you. Like, who would have thought that the person who was going to speak life into me and my family was a prisoner and an inmate, and the equivalent of, like, what destroyed my world. Yeah, that's probably, like, the coolest personal story that I have. I mean, there's been, like, so many different testimonies that I've heard. And what I love most is whenever I see them in prison and then I see them out on the outside.
Isn't that the best? That is the best.
Yeah.
And so who do you go into these prisons with?
I do a lot of ministry with God behind bars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That is such a touching story.
Yeah.
And you can see when you speak about it, like, it just lights,
it
you
does.
light up.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I feel called to it for sure.
Visit goodgirlrx.com and use code UNLOCKED15 to get 15% off at checkout. Medical care is provided by licensed physicians. Not all patients qualify. Good Girl RX is a female-focused health and wellness company built around the belief that women deserve better access to care and better conversations about their health. Through our telehealth platform, women connect with licensed medical providers from the comfort of their own home. During your virtual appointment, a doctor reviews your health history and goals, and if clinically appropriate, may discuss prescription treatment options as part of a personalized plan. Those options can include GLP-1 medications like tirzepatide, as well as wellness therapies such as NAD, depending on what your provider determines is right for you. Every treatment plan is individualized, medically guided, and based on your specific needs, not trends or one-size-fits-all solutions. I'm the founder of Good Girl RX, and this is my personal experience. For me, the biggest shift wasn't just physical. It was finally feeling heard, supported, and honestly cared for without shame. Everyone's journey is different, results vary, and not everyone qualifies, but access to real medical guidance can be life-changing. Visit goodgirlrx.com and use code UNLOCKED15 to get 15% off at checkout. Medical care is provided by licensed physicians. Not all patients qualify.
And so you're writing a book right now, which I'm super excited for. What's your whole mission of this book? Like, if a reader only reads one chapter, what would you say it would be?
I think certainly going to talk about, like, my dad and the faith that he had, and it's honestly like the crux of, like, why I do what I do. But ultimately, my goal is, like, for the one person who reads maybe one chapter of my book is for them to walk away knowing, like, following Jesus is worth it.
Yeah.
And my hope and my prayer is that it's going to free a lot of people up into walking in forgiveness. I think it may be one of the most, like, misunderstood topics of our world, honestly. I don't think people really understand what it is to forgive someone.
No, not at all.
No, and I really think that it holds so many people back, and I just wonder like what our world would look like if more people walked in forgiveness.
Wow. I think you are so right? Like, I think we're taught from such a young age of just say I'm sorry, or just, and forgiveness is not easy. Forgiveness is not black and white. Like you said, there are days, and unfortunately you are in a position to where there were so many people at your dad's funeral, to where in that moment you felt led to forgive this person. And then after, you felt kind of stuck in that spot because you're like, wait, do I actually forgive him?
Right.
There was so much back and forth.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is the story of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Like, if you feel led to do it, do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. It doesn't mean it's going to be an easy ride, but it will make sense in the end. And I feel like it has started to make sense for you.
Oh, 100%.
And when's your book coming out?
We're working on it right now. Honestly, I wanted to get through, I wanted to be able to reflect a lot. And I think whenever I first started, I was like, we haven't even had trial yet, like all of these different things. And I really wanted to put the right amount of thought and reflection into it. So I'm not for sure yet, but soon.
So the man who did what he did, he is currently sitting in prison. Is he in Texas? Is it a Texas state penitentiary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your goal would be to go and sit and just talk to him.
Yeah. Yeah. I've kept in contact a little bit with his family.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. So after the trial, I ended up getting in contact with his daughter and his son. And his daughter was actually there that day. She was at the call, and my age. And so, yeah, I've kept in touch with them a little bit. At the time, I mean, they were like still in high school, like they were young.
Yeah.
And not only was obviously he sent to prison, but their mom was too. Their mom was there.
Wow.
Yeah. So she was actually sent back to Mexico. And so now, I mean, it's just them. And so ultimately, like, not only did this guy wreck my world, I mean, ultimately he wrecked his kids' world too. Yeah. And so
their lives are forever changed.
Yeah. And so honestly, I knew that, like, this was going to be hard for them.
Yeah.
And at the very least, could I just like share with them, like, hey, I forgive your dad. I do. And because I can't imagine as a kid, like, knowing my parent killed someone and wrecked someone's world at a young age too, and having to wrestle and deal with that.
Very hard.
Yeah.
That has to be very hard. So what would you say what is standing in the way of you going and visiting him?
Honestly, not much. Like, I just really...
Is it a systematic thing, or...
I honestly really just haven't even looked into it that much, truthfully. And I think just trying to figure out, like, what it even takes... I mean, because you're right, it takes a lot to get inside a prison.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd do it tomorrow, if I had the chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that there's just like steps and processes and all the things.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. I really am in such awe of you, and I can't wait to read your book.
Thanks.
And hear I've heard your story, but to see it on paper, I feel like that's going to be such another layer to your healing process. Do you feel that it has helped you to get it out on paper?
Oh, 100%. And my favorite part actually is, like, I have journaled like my whole life. And so I journaled the day my dad died, the week of, like, months like after it happened. And so, yeah, just being able to see the faithfulness of God, like, through the pages and how he's written the story. It's powerful.
Wow. And now that your daughter is here, what would you say that had to have been healing in its own way?
100%.
It had to have been extremely difficult as well. But when your daughter was born, is there something that comes to mind that you think back and you're like, I wish I could have told my 18-year-old self this?
I think I remember my my 18-year-old self, like, wondering if I would ever, like, really get my life back, like, get my joy back.
Yeah.
It really, like, changed me personally, like, my personality. I'm not the same Shelby that I was before my dad died. And I think after he died, I just wondered, like, if I'd ever laugh again, if I'd ever smile, if I'd ever, like, really feel true joy. And she has healed me and, like, pulled all the best parts of me, like, back to life. And, yeah, she's honestly, like, saved me in a lot of ways.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
And your husband along this journey with you has this grief process affected your relationship in any way?
Certainly. Yeah. I think, honestly, a big part of my story, too, is just teaching people how to help people grieve.
Yeah.
I know it's just, like, a really hard subject and hard thing to figure out is, like, what do I do? Like, whenever my wife is, like, no longer has her dad, like, how do I deal with that? Because that's, like, a whole grief in and of itself is, like, he never got to meet him. He doesn't have a father-in-law. Like,
Yeah.
And so definitely it takes a ton of communication, but I mean, he's just been the best, and he was there. I mean, we weren't even together at this point, but I mean, he was at his funeral. He was at the candlelight vigil at my house the next day after he died. Like, we've always kind of been in each other's worlds, but, like, not together necessarily. And so, but I mean, looking back, I'm just so grateful that he was a part of those moments, because it's like some of these things you just can't verbalize. Like, you can't put into words.
You can't.
And so I'm just grateful that, like, God had him there, knowing, like, we would eventually get married and be together.
I love that. Is such a God thing. And I would like to think it's a very dad thing.
Yes. So 100%.
You know, I'd like to think he had his hand on every little piece of it.
For sure.
What's a piece of advice you would give to someone right now that is in the thick of it, that is really struggling with that loss and doesn't know how to process it?
I think community is everything. Being a part of a local church is everything. There are countless things and there are things I will never know because of the people that worked behind the scenes whenever my family was grieving.
Yeah.
The things that they did for us and our family. And I think that if you're walking through that right now, lean on them. Because I truly don't think that I'd be here today if I didn't have people to hold me up whenever I felt like I couldn't stand, couldn't walk, like physically, honestly. And I think more than all of that, like, community is everything, but Jesus is everything. And I can't tell you that it's going to be easy, but I can tell you it's going to be worth it. And I think one day whenever you get to heaven, like, he's going to peel back the curtain of heaven and he's going to look down and say, I saw you the whole time. Like, I saw you. I saw the tears. Like, I saw what you walked through. And it's going to be worth it, because at that point, we will not have to make any sort of decision to forgive or to worship. Like, it's just going to be our natural response. And so, yeah, I mean, it's worth it following Jesus.
Oh, you give me so much hope and just your story. And I admire you so much and everything that you're doing. And when it comes to prisons, don't stop doing it. I unfortunately have seen the prison system firsthand, you know, with my parents, and to see all the men and women that they're forgotten about. They are, you know, statistically proven. After the first year or two in prison, they lose touch with their families. And so to have no one, and to have someone like you going in and breathing life into these people and sharing your story, and a story of forgiveness and hope, and what loving Jesus and believing in Jesus can do for someone's life. I think what's so amazing is to see people who are sentenced to life in prison who decide to turn their life around and believe in Jesus. And I feel like prison looks different for them.
It does. It does. And honestly, that made me think of a particular story in prison. The last one I went to, they were actually on death row. And we walked in, the God Behind Bars team and I, we walked in and someone said something about like visiting death row. And they're like, no. We call this life row. We have life because of Jesus here. And honestly, like it takes one look at Jesus's eyes, like whenever he captures your heart. I mean, it's true. You literally go from death to life. And I can tell you that prison looks nothing like what it could because these men are choosing to follow Jesus and walk with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, it gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Where can people follow you on social media to keep up with you and your story and your book?
Yeah. Instagram, Facebook. I mean, everything is Shelby Houston Brown.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, this was such an honor to have you on.
Yeah,
thank you
you
so much, and for sharing your story and your dad's legacy. And thank you for his service to just, I mean, our country. I believe every single police officer deserves the praise. They go out every single day and put their lives on the line. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.